in a parliamentary process. Today, the government of Finland will adopt the report on the change of our security environment. In the report, we focus on the broad effects of fundamental change on our economy, resilience, security of supply, international security, critical infrastructure and cybersecurity, as well as hybrid threats. Importantly, the report covers the different opinions for making our foreign security and defense policy stronger. As is expected, in this new security environment, the report analyzes what it could mean if Finland applies for NATO membership. We have deepened our NATO partnership until now, hand in hand with Sweden, ever since Russia illegally annexed Crimea. The difference between being a partner and being a member is very clear and will remain so. There is no other way to have security guarantees than under NATO's deterrence and common defense as guaranteed by NATO's Article 5. Also, the report sees NATO as it is, not only as a military alliance, but also as a political alliance. NATO is an organization where important decisions concerning our security are taken. It is an important part of Europe's political and security architecture. As part of the discussion, we need to assess how our possible NATO membership would respond to our security needs. We also need to be very frank about consequences and risks. There are both short-term and long-term risks. These risks are there both if we apply and if we do not apply. This is a debate which needs to be taking place in the Parliament. The report will now be delivered to our Parliament, which will start processing it right after Easter break. I'm expecting a swift handing of the report in the upcoming weeks. Finland and Sweden share the same security environment in the Baltic Sea region, but also more widely in Europe. As close neighbours, we have in the last years intensified our defence cooperation. Therefore, it is important that we have a constant dialogue between our countries. Both Finland and Sweden make independently their decisions regarding security policy arrangements, but we do that with a clear understanding that our choices will affect not only ourselves, but our neighbours as well. Our aim is clear. We want to guarantee peace in the future for us and for our region, for Europe, and to contribute towards that aim with our own choices. And finally, I value very much the possibility to continue this close dialogue and cooperation with Sweden at a time when such an important debate is taking place in both of our countries. I look forward to today's discussion with my dear colleague Magdalena Andersson, and I think the discussions will be a very good one. Thank you.
As they usually are.
Yeah, right.
So, please. Thank you.
And I would have a question for Magdalena Andersson. If there opens up a situation where Finland and Sweden move at different paces in these processes, we have a very, very assertive neighbor on our borders in Finland, Russia. How dangerous would you say that situation is? Because there will be massive pressure when we approach the decisions. And how dangerous is it if we move at different paces, that we are split up? And also an additional follow-up, do you see a possibility that Sweden will stay out if we are in? And it would be very nice if you could answer in Swedish, because we like Swedish in Finland.
Kiitos. Jag ska säga så här, vi har ett nytt säkerhetspolitiskt läge och det finns risker och möjligheter med alla olika handlingsalternativ och med alla olika scenarier. Och därför så tycker jag som Sveriges statsminister att det är oerhört viktigt att vi analyserar det här läget. Finland har ju precis gjort en redogörelse och vi arbetar ju nu med utrikesministern och försvarsministern, sitter i överläggningar med alla partierna i Sveriges riksdag för att göra en analys av det nuvarande läget, men också över de olika möjligheter som står till buds och olika scenarier framöver. Och för mig så är det viktigt att den görs och är grundlig, inte för lång, det ska inte ta för lång tid, men att den är grundligt gjort, och utifrån det så kommer vi fatta beslut i Sverige vad som är bäst för det svenska folket och för Sveriges säkerhet. Och i det så kommer naturligtvis också det vägval som Finland väljer att göra, potentiella vägval som Finland gör, naturligtvis också vara en del av den analysen. Med det sagt så varje land fattar ju sina beslut, men precis som Sanna, Marin också säger, det beslut som ett av våra länder fattar påverkar också det andra landet. Och det är därför som det är så viktigt att vi har kunnat haft den här väldigt nära dialogen under de här veckorna, och den kommer naturligtvis också fortsätta. Ja, situationen, vi ser ju ett ökat spänningsläge och en ökad hotbild i vårt närområde på grund av att Ryssland dels har hotat hela den europeiska säkerhetsordningen genom att vilja dela in Europa i intressesfärer igen. Det tillhör inte ett modernt Europa med olika intressesfärer. Och sen därutöver den rena invasionen i Ukraina, och där vi ser de fruktansvärda övergreppen mot civila. Det är naturligtvis någonting som har ökat hotbilden i vårt närområde.
My name is Ulf Bonnevier from Swedish television. I would like to ask today, the broad analysis everywhere is that Sweden and Finland will apply for NATO membership in June. This is the broad analysis, and everyone seems to think everything is clear. And today, Svenska Dagbladet, one of the Swedish broad newspapers, claim that they already have information that Magdalena Andersson has already decided that you want to join NATO. So my question is to both of you, especially to Magdalena Andersson, how would you like to comment on that information? And have you already decided that you want to go to join NATO? And if so, how come this has gone so fast? Really fast. How is it possible? Could you explain the whole process up until June, when we will apply maybe for NATO membership? Thank you.
Well, if I start, of course, everything changed when Russia invaded Ukraine. I think people's mindset in Finland, also in Sweden, changed and shifted very dramatically because of Russia's actions, and this is very clear. And that caused need for process in Finland to have a discussion about our own security choices, also discussion about NATO membership that we are having right now. We are giving today to the Parliament the paper which will analyze different options for Finland in the future for our security, and we will have the discussions within our Parliament. And I also want to give to the Parliament and all the political groups in Parliament and all the parties the platform to have this discussion that we could build a consensus. And this is very important for Finland when it comes to security and also foreign policies, to have as wide consensus as possible, because we do have a big right next door neighbor, Russia, which acts like this. So we need to have consensus, we need to have a view on the future, and we are using this time to analyze and also building common views on the future when it comes to security. I won't give any kind of timetable when we will make our decisions, but I think it will happen quite fast. Within weeks, not within months, we will have the discussion, and we have also have this process for a while now. And I think all the parties, all the parliamentary groups, government, and also the president will have the possibility to make the decisions within upcoming weeks.
I think, as I have said so many times, this is a very important time in history. There is a before and after 24th of February. The security landscape has completely changed, both with the demands from Russia in December and then the invasion of Ukraine. And given that situation, we have to really think through what is best for Sweden and our security and our peace in this new situation. And of course, what is happening and the discussion in Finland is important for us to follow. Therefore, we need to have a very close contact. But we have to have a process in Sweden to think this through. Sometimes if you read some statements in Swedish media, it's like you should be as quick as possible to make up your mind. I think you really must analyze the new situation, do it very seriously, think about the consequences, the pros and cons of all potential ways forward. And I think you have to be very serious in this work. This is exactly where we are right now. Finland just made their redogörelse, and we are now having the discussions with the parties in the Swedish Parliament. We also have a dialogue within my party. I wanted to have take this serious situation very seriously, and then we make a decision. No, I'm saying we have to analyze the situation to see what is best for Sweden's security, for the Swedish people in this new situation. And you shouldn't rush into that. You should make it very seriously. That is how I work as the Swedish Prime Minister.
Dear Prime Ministers, Finnish media, Lauri Nurmi, Iltalehti. Like my colleague just said, Svenska Dagbladet writes that you will consider very seriously NATO membership. Prime Minister Marin has said that Finland will make its NATO decision within weeks. Will it go so that Finland makes its decision first, let's say in May, and after that Sweden will follow, let's say in June, and both of the countries are applying for NATO before summit in Madrid. And could you please say something about NATO? Why NATO, if so? Thank you.
I think that we have been discussing the timetables when the process started in Finland and in Sweden, and they are not that different. And I think there is good reason for that. We have the very serious analysis that the Finland is doing, the redogörelse, and then you will also have discussions within the parties and also in Parliament. So that's a very serious process. We are having a similar, somewhat different, but very similar process in Sweden right now. And I think it's important to do a serious analysis and seriously think through this question in Sweden, like they are doing in Finland, the very serious jobs, and then draw conclusions from that. At the same time, I see no point in delaying this analysis or the process. So we also have elections in September, so we also want to, of course, later in the year have more of a focus on that. But having said that, I think it's important that we do an analysis, think through the pros and cons, and then make up our mind on what is best for Sweden. Of course, there are both pros and cons with being member of NATO, as there are pros and cons of other security choices. Being a member of NATO, you do have the security with Article 5 within NATO, no question about it. That is not something you have in other arrangements. At the same time, you also have another responsibility towards other countries.
Well, of course, Finland and Sweden, both countries are making the decisions from our own perspective. We are making the decisions independently, but with close dialogue. We have had very close dialogue so far, and I think it will continue so. And of course, both of our countries understand that our choices on security affects not only our countries but the whole region and the whole Nordic region of Europe. So of course we will have a very close dialogue. We will discuss today very frank, very honest about the processes in different countries. And I think it's also very important that we know where we are heading as countries, but still we are making the decisions by ourselves, by our own or independent perspective. So thank you for the discussion so far.
Yes.
I think it will continue very closely.
Why NATO, if so?
Well, of course, Russia is a next door neighbor, as I mentioned. We have a long border with Russia, and we see how Russia acts now in Ukraine. There is a war in Europe that we wished never happened, but it is unfortunately atmosphere, the situation that is happening right now. And of course we have to wonder what is the best way to secure that this wouldn't ever happen in Finland. And as I mentioned, the NATO Article 5 assures that if some member country are attacked, others will defend. And of course also the umbrella with nuclear weapons will make it so that we would have that kind of security. But there are different perspectives to apply NATO membership or not to apply, and we have to analyze all of these very carefully, as Magdalena said, and we will have the discussions within the Finnish Parliament upcoming weeks. But I think our process will be quite fast. It will happen in weeks, as I mentioned.
Hello, Maria Davidsson, TT News Agency. At first I have a follow-up on the question from my Finnish colleague about the risks if Sweden and Finland make different decisions or have different timetables. And this one for Sanna Marin. How do you see these risks? And can you be a bit concrete and elaborate on that? And the second question for Magdalena Andersson. The Swedish security report is due in late May. That's more than a month after the Finnish report. Don't you think it's necessary to speed up the process? Thank you.
Well, of course, we have had very close cooperation in defense policy so far, and we have deepened it all the way to this point. And of course, it would be a good thing if we would have the similar choices also in the future, but there's no demand that this is something that is demanded, but it would be a very good that we would have the similar choices and also similar kind of timetable, but there isn't that kind of demand that everything must happen in the same timetable, or that we have to have or have to make the same decisions. Both countries will deliver its decisions independently, and we will have very close connections and very close dialogue. But of course, if you ask me, I would prefer that we would make the similar kind of choices for the whole region, but it's up to Sweden to decide for yourselves. I don't want to go to the details. Of course, there are many kind of risks involved. Also, to the period when we are thinking what kind of choices we should make. Of course, there are many risks, and we have to be prepared for all kind of actions from Russia. And actually, when we have given the paper to the Finnish Parliament, we also analyzed these risks, hybrid threats, cyber attacks, different kind of influencing from Russia's side, and we are prepared different kinds of meaninglessness that would come from the Russian side. But I also think that we have to make the decisions by ourselves, not to have fear influence our choices. I think we are making decisions far to the future, and we shouldn't be afraid in this stage to make the decisions.
Yes, late May is when the last time this report is supposed to be ready. But of course, it's possible to get ready before that. That's the last date. It's not the. It doesn't have to be the last date. So it would be possible if the work proceeds smoothly to make it earlier. That's not forbidden or anything. So it depends on how much time they need to make this analysis, which is important to have a serious analysis behind any kind of decision that we will make. And of course, during this process, there could very well be different kind of activities from other countries during this process. For instance, different anonymous sources in media.
Okay. Thank you so much.